Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, we're diving into some exciting news from Morgan Stanley about Apple's iPhone lineup and what it means for the future, especially when it comes to the iPhone SE 4. So, let's get into it. According to Morgan Stanley, Apple isn't cutting any orders for the iPhone 16 series, despite earlier reports suggesting lower than expected sales. It looks like the iPhone 16 Pro and iPhone 16 Pro Max are actually doing better now, even though their lead times, basically the time it takes for Apple to deliver after you place an order, are still shorter than what we saw with the iPhone 15 models. Now, Apple doesn't officially share how many iPhones they sell or produce, so a lot of this information is based on educated guesses. Still, Morgan Stanley believes that the shorter lead times are a result of better supply chain conditions. Their checks show that there hasn't been any reduction in iPhone 16 orders, which is a good sign for Apple. But what's even more interesting is their prediction about the iPhone SE 4. This could be a game changer. Morgan Stanley is saying that the iPhone SE 4 might be Apple's ticket to dominating the lower end of the smartphone market. They're expecting it to drop in March 2025 and come packed with Apple Intelligence, which is a feature we haven't seen on earlier SE models. They predict that this will make the SE 4 a more appealing option than many older iPhone models, especially for people who want that Apple experience without paying top dollar. So, what's the big deal with Apple Intelligence? While we don't know all the details yet, it's expected to offer some significant software enhancements that might make the SE 4 stand out in a crowded market. This could be exactly what Apple needs to push sales to a whole new level. In fact, Morgan Stanley now thinks that Apple could sell between 15 to 20 million iPhone SE 4 units, which is more than they initially predicted. But why is the iPhone SE 4 so important for Apple right now? Well, for one, Apple is getting closer and closer to overtaking Samsung in terms of global market share. In fact, reports suggest that the two companies were tied in Q3 this year. If Apple keeps this momentum, they could become the largest smartphone maker in the world next year. That would be a huge deal because the last time they held the top spot was in 2023. What's helping them get there? Emerging markets like India are a big factor, where older iPhone models are still selling strong. But the iPhone SE 4 could play an even bigger role. You see, budget-friendly phones are what keep brands like Samsung at the top. For years, Samsung has dominated the market thanks to its Galaxy A series, which is known for offering great value at lower prices. Just last year, Samsung's Galaxy A14 and Galaxy A54 were its best sellers. This shows that even though Samsung makes some amazing high-end phones like the Galaxy S series, most people are still buying the more affordable ones. It's not hard to see why. Not everyone can afford to spend $1,000 on a smartphone. That's where the iPhone SE 4 comes into play. Apple hasn't really had a solid competitor to Samsung's budget phones, and that's hurt them in the market. The last iPhone SE came out in 2022, and it didn't make much of a splash. But the new SE 4 could change that. Now, the iPhone SE 4 isn't exactly a budget phone like the Galaxy A series, which costs between $200 and $400. It's expected to be priced closer to $500, which puts it in the mid-range category. But for Apple, $500 is still relatively affordable, especially when you consider that the iPhone 16 starts at $799. So, could the iPhone SE 4 really make a difference? I think so. If Apple can price it right and pack it with enough features, it could attract a lot of people who want an iPhone without the high price tag. That's especially true if it comes with some of the rumored upgrades, like a larger 6.1-inch OLED display. This would be the first time we've seen an OLED screen on an SE model, and it would definitely make the phone more appealing. There are also rumors that the SE 4 could borrow some design elements from the iPhone 14, or even the iPhone 16. That's a big deal because it means the phone wouldn't feel outdated like previous SE models have. And let's talk about the camera, another area where the SE 4 could see some major improvements. There's talk of a 48 megapixels rear camera, which would be a huge upgrade from the 12 megapixels camera on the current SE. That alone could make the phone worth considering for anyone who cares about photography. Battery life is another area where the iPhone SE 4 might impress. Reports suggest that it could have a battery twice the size of the current model, which would be a game changer. One of the biggest complaints about the SE models has always been their battery life, so this would be a welcome improvement. So, to wrap it all up, the iPhone SE 4 could be a huge deal for Apple in 2025. It's not going to be the cheapest phone on the market, but it could offer a lot of value for the price. If it comes with features like Apple Intelligence, a bigger OLED screen, a better camera, and improved battery life, all for around $500, it could help Apple gain even more ground in the global smartphone market. It might not be the best-selling iPhone overall, but it could attract a lot of buyers who want an iPhone but don't want to spend a fortune. And that could be exactly what Apple needs to finally overtake Samsung and become the world's top smartphone maker again. Only time will tell, but I'm excited to see what happens. It looks like you're diving into the latest rumors and leaks surrounding the iPhone SE 4, and it's getting pretty interesting. From what we're hearing, the SE 4 might come packed with some serious upgrades, like the A18 processor and 8GB of RAM, just like the iPhone 16 models. That's huge because it could mean this budget-friendly iPhone will be able to support Apple Intelligence features, making it even more powerful and capable. One of the most exciting rumors is that the iPhone SE 4 might be the first to use Apple's own 5G modem chip. If that's true, it's a big deal for Apple because it brings them one step closer to making more of their own tech in-house, which could help them stand out even more in the smartphone market. Plus, if Apple really nails this, it could make a big splash in 2025, possibly boosting their chances of becoming the top smartphone maker. However, not all the news is about big upgrades. One rumor suggests that the Action button, which is a new feature on the iPhone 16 line, might not make it to the SE 4. Recent leaks of a case design show a cutout for the classic mute switch instead of the Action button. While some might see this as a letdown, it probably won't be a deal-breaker for most people who are looking at the SE 4 as a more affordable option. After all, the Action button is useful, but for most users, it's not a game-changer. Sure, some hardcore Apple fans love the customization it offers with shortcuts and automation, but the majority of budget iPhone buyers likely won't miss it. At the end of the day, it seems the iPhone SE 4 is shaping up to be a solid, redesigned version of Apple's more recent iPhones but without all the bells and whistles of the Pro models. With a potential release in early 2025, we're probably going to hear a lot more as the launch date gets closer. If Apple sticks to its usual timeline, we can expect it to come out in the spring, which means it won't have to go head-to-head with Samsung's Galaxy launch in January. What do you think about these rumors? Will the iPhone SE 4 be worth it with all these changes, or do you think Apple's leaving out too much? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more tech updates. See you next time.